Marcus Williams was a 36-year-old black single father from Atlanta, Georgia, whose life changed forever because of one terrible mistake made by the justice system. Before his arrest, Marcus worked as a respected delivery company supervisor and spent every free moment raising his 6-year-old daughter, Ava. After his wife died from a serious illness, Marcus promised her he would always protect their little girl. That promise became his reason for living. However, when money disappeared from the company and a robbery investigation began, Marcus was falsely accused after his dishonest business partner blamed everything on him to avoid prison himself. Despite insisting on his innocence, Marcus was convicted after false testimony and missing evidence, convinced the jury that he was guilty. The judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison, leaving Marcus heartbroken as he watched police officers lead him away from the courtroom. The last thing he saw before the doors closed was Ava, crying uncontrollably while reaching toward him. With no close relatives willing or able to care for her, Child Protective Services stepped in. Marcus felt helpless, knowing he could not protect the only person who mattered most in his life. Every night inside prison, he prayed that Ava would never believe the lies told about her father. Life behind bars was difficult, but Marcus refused to let prison destroy his character. He spent his days working in the prison library, earning certificates through educational programs, and helping other inmates learn to read. He avoided trouble because he believed one day he would walk out as a better man than the one who entered. Every month he wrote heartfelt letters to Ava, describing memories they had shared, encouraging her to work hard in school, and reminding her that he loved her more than anything. Most of the time he never received a reply, making him wonder whether his letters had ever reached her. As the years passed, Marcus celebrated birthdays, Christmas holidays, and Father's Days inside a prison cell. The loneliness often became unbearable. Yet he kept a small photograph of Ava, tucked safely inside his Bible. Looking at her smiling face reminded him to keep fighting. Other inmates admired Marcus because he never blamed his daughter for moving on with her life. Instead, he hoped she was growing into a strong and kind young woman. Secretly, he feared she might eventually forget his face, his voice, and the promise he made before being taken away. That fear hurt far more than the prison walls surrounding him every single day. Finally, after 5 long years, Marcus woke before sunrise on the morning of his release. Prison officers returned his old wallet, wedding ring, and family photograph before opening the gates to freedom. His heart raced as he stepped outside, carrying only a small cardboard box filled with his belongings. He expected to begin life completely alone because no one had contacted him about waiting outside. Taking a deep breath, Marcus walked toward the parking lot, unaware that the next few moments would change his life forever and answer every prayer he had whispered during those long years behind bars. As Marcus stepped through the prison gates into the bright Georgia sunshine, he froze in disbelief. Standing near the entrance was an 11-year-old girl holding a colorful handmade sign that read, "Welcome home, Daddy." He recognized her smile immediately, even though she had grown much taller. "Ava," he whispered, dropping the small cardboard box as tears filled his eyes. Father and daughter ran toward each other and embraced tightly. Marcus could hardly believe this moment was real. But as he looked up, he noticed a well-dressed woman standing quietly beside Ava. She smiled kindly, yet Marcus had never seen her before. Leaving him confused and uncertain, Marcus gently asked Ava who the woman was. Before Ava could answer, the stranger stepped forward and introduced herself as Rachel Morgan, a 5th-grade teacher from Atlanta. She explained that after Marcus was sent to prison, Ava had entered foster care because there were no immediate relatives able to raise her. Rachel had met Ava at school and quickly realized how frightened and lonely she was. Instead of allowing her to be moved from one foster home to another, Rachel completed the legal process to become Ava's foster mother. Marcus listened silently, unsure whether to feel grateful or guilty that someone else had protected his daughter while he was gone. Seeing the uncertainty in Marcus's eyes, Rachel opened the trunk of her car and removed a carefully sealed storage box. Inside were hundreds of letters, birthday cards, school photographs, artwork, and every letter Marcus had mailed from prison. Rachel explained that prison mail often arrived months late, but she had saved every single piece. Each birthday, Christmas, and Father's Day, she read Marcus's words aloud so Ava would never forget the father who loved her. Ava smiled through tears and hugged Marcus again. "I always knew you were innocent," she whispered. "Rachel made sure I never stopped believing you would come home." Before they left the prison parking lot, Rachel handed Marcus one final envelope that had arrived from his attorney that very morning. Inside was a court order officially declaring him innocent. New surveillance footage and DNA evidence had exposed the real criminal, Marcus's former business partner, who had confessed after being arrested for another robbery. The state overturned Marcus's conviction and approved financial compensation for the 5 years he had wrongfully spent behind bars. Marcus stood speechless as relief, sadness, and gratitude overwhelmed him. For the first time in years, he felt the heavy burden of injustice finally begin to lift from his heart. Over the following months, Marcus used part of his settlement to buy a comfortable home where Ava would always feel safe. He also created a non-profit organization to help families separated by wrongful convictions, determined that no child should endure what Ava had experienced. Rachel remained an important part of their lives, never asking for recognition or reward. Their shared love for Ava gradually turned into a deep friendship and, eventually, a lasting romance. 1 year after his release, Marcus proposed to Rachel in a quiet Atlanta park. Ava proudly stood beside them, smiling as the woman, who had once been a stranger officially, became part of their family forever.